From What Goes On Media, this is Coming Out Stories. It's a podcast about one of the most important conversations of your life. And I'm your host, Emma Goswell. Finally, and not before time, we have got to the I in LGBTQI. Yep, it's time to meet our first intersex guest, Stephen. He's 36, he's the Pride in Surrey founder, and he only found out in the last year that he was born intersex. This is his story.
To be honest with you, I didn't necessarily understand it before I found out. I was diagnosed with bowel cancer. During those scans, they saw that I had a polycystic ovary. And when they saw that, obviously they realised that I had some female anatomy inside of my body. So that was kind of how I was born. My parents were aware of it when I was born, and they chose for me to have a male identifying life, because I had male genitalia, and that male genitalia was deemed to be fully functional and working. So that's it, really. I mean, obviously, that's why I identify as a man, and that's why I look like a stereotypical kind of guy. And it's something that I didn't understand, but I'm very proud of, and I'm kind of glad that I can kind of stand up and say, yay, I'm intersex, and wave that flag.
So you have elements of both genders, but you only found this out how long ago, Stephen?
Just about a year ago now. It was the kind of second time that I had bowel cancer. They were going in and doing lots of ultrasounds and scans and things. They said, what's this? Because I was having lots of pains. And they identified a polycystic ovary. And, it was really weird because that hadn't been something that had worked before, but because of immunotherapy and the estrogen within immunotherapy, that then kick-started this body part to start trying to do something. And that's why, obviously, I was having pains and niggles here and there.
So you've been living as a man for how many years?
Oh, my whole life. 37 years.
A whippersnapper. So you've been living as a man for 37 years, and then you suddenly have a doctor turn around and say you have got polycystic ovaries. How on earth do you react to that?
Shocked, scared, angry at my parents for not saying anything. I always wondered why I had scars kind of down that area, but didn't kind of think anything of it. I just thought it was a normal thing. So for me, it was kind of it's just, I have to embrace it. But at first it was a lot of anger in me, I suppose. It was kind of like, oh gosh, why didn't my parents tell me this? Because throughout my teenage years, I was always conscious of having what they call moobs, and kind of being a bigger guy. I was always conscious of that, trying to do as much as I possibly can to kind of lose weight and stuff. But now, when they explain it to me and when they kind of made me realise, actually, the reason why I'm a bigger person is because thyroids and estrogen and testosterone, all those kind of things, potentially weren't within my life or operating the way they should have done throughout my teenage years. And that's why potentially I'd had problems and difficulty growing up and kind of fitting in amongst everybody else.
So why do you think your parents didn't tell you? It's very interesting, isn't it? It's almost, this is something I learnt on Intersex Awareness Day, that actually being intersex is as common as being ginger. There are a lot of people born with more than one sexual characteristic.
Hey, I'm intersex, ginger and gay. Look at me. I'm a proper, I'm a proper sort.
You are just going crazy in your own little Venn diagram, aren't you, basically, Stephen?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, for me, it's, it's not changed anything. I had to obviously have the bowel cancer removed. They then obviously, during keyhole surgery, they did surgery to make sure that was kind of removed so that it wouldn't cause mini jip. Yeah, I mean, obviously I had those quick fire conversations with my parents. I don't really get on with them as much as other people do with their parents. But, it was one of those things. I think they just didn't tell me because it's a lot to take in. And I think it's quite confusing to then tell a child growing up, or maybe in their teenage years, you were born potentially with some female anatomy. That could have kind of confused me and freaked me out. And of course, during those years, I was already anxious and somewhat scared of my sexuality and having to come out and having to try and hide that, let alone then coming into the world and understanding intersex as well. So I think that was probably what it is. It's probably more to protect me. But, when you find those things out, you think, oh my gosh, why didn't they tell me? At first, it's that anger.
As it turned out for you, it was of vital importance for your health and well-being because, maybe you could have done something about polycystic ovaries if you'd known about them sooner.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, obviously, many different people have to have and take different medications depending on their testosterone and hormone levels and things like that. There's a big debate around our trans community at the moment and self-identification and things like that, which is awful. And I truly believe that our trans community do get a bad rep, but also we've got to recognise as well that there are intersex individuals that also fall in that category, and non-binary, for when it comes to things like safe spaces, toilets, gyms, swimming places and things like that. We've got to be mindful of that, because now, for me, I could potentially, if I wanted to, and I was inclined to, I could convert my gender and I could choose to live a female lifestyle. And there would be nothing stopping me from doing that. And of course, I was born intersex, and of course, that is something potentially then I could live as a female, and I could, how does that work? And how does that fall into that kind of whole big social debate? It's really, it's a really difficult time for so many people out there. So it's great that I'm able to then, being a Pride organizer and being somebody that's influential in the community, being able to kind of wave that flag and say, I'm intersex and I understand. And whilst I don't understand it all because it's new to me, I want to learn. And this is the thing. It's about being an ally to people in the community that you don't potentially necessarily understand.
Well, you have come out very quickly, considering, you only found out in the last year or so. But why was it so important for you to speak out and put your head above the parapet and go, I am intersex, when there really are so few people who are out as intersex?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change me. I'm already having to come out daily being gay. As you go to the doctor's surgery, you come out, you go anywhere, you say your partner and they go, oh, what does she do? And it's like, no, it's a he, so you're always coming out anyway. So for me, it was just kind of another thing. I don't go around saying, hey, I'm Steve and I'm gay, I'm ginger and I'm intersex. It's kind of like just one of those things I put on my social media, because it's important that people know that they're not alone. If you go back 60 years, many people wouldn't have put gay or lesbian or bi on their profiles, and that was because they were scared, because they felt like potentially they were the only person out there, or it was a difficult time socially. And that's again another reason why people don't necessarily come out with intersex, because again, people don't understand it, that educational piece, but also the judgment and the fear of judgment. A lot of people that I've spoken to that have come forward and said to me, thank you so much for standing up and saying you are intersex. A lot of people say, I can't necessarily come out because I might get mocked by people in my family, or people might not necessarily understand, or it might affect my work, things like that as well. It might affect my professional entity. So, two fingers up at that. And for me, it was all about just kind of being that social rebel that I am, and saying, it's surprise a protest. I'm going to use this now to benefit others and hopefully make people feel a little bit more comfortable in themselves for who they might be.
Yeah, and hopefully they will do, because as you said, there isn't really anyone in the public eye, is there? I can think of one person, and forgive me, I can't remember her name. She was in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. She's related to royalty.
Oh, yes, Lady Lady C, isn't it?
Lady Colin Campbell.
Colin Campbell, yeah. There we are.
But apart from her, I don't really know of any people.
No, I mean, I was lucky enough to meet the individual that made the new progressive flag. That was at the London march that Peter Tatchell did, the Reclaim Pride. That was really good. And it was good to see that the intersex flag was introduced within the progressive flag. So that was really good. But I mean, it's really hard, with a flag, you can evolve it so many times, can't you? And, you can have so many variations. And for me, that flag represents me. It's that inclusion of all. So the inclusion of trans community, the inclusion of the individuals that are BAME, and of course, individuals that might be lesbian, gay, bi, etc. as well. So, that was really good to see that introduction of that flag.
Really good. So have you met anyone else who's intersex then?
Just that individual that made that flag, yeah. And a couple of people have emailed me just off the back of my social media, just putting that I'm intersex and just posting a few things about that. But yeah, it'd be nice to see more education around it, just because it is more common than people realise and recognise. So it'd be good to potentially see something like that on TV shows like Naked Attraction and stuff like that, because we all know that we do exist. So
Stephen, it sounds to me like you're offering yourself up to go on Naked Attraction.
Oh no, I'm not single. I am very happy. I'm in a poly relationship with two partners that I love and adore. So it's all good.
So you mentioned polyamorous relationship there then. So we should talk a bit about your sexuality as well. So you came out as gay. How old were you?
Oh gosh, when did I come out fully? It was quite funny. We had a computer indoors. I looked at something I shouldn't have done, and my mum covered for me for many years and said that she looked at something when my dad found out on history, which was quite funny. So my mum knew before everybody else when I was probably about 12 or 13.
Oh, well done, Mum.
The days of dial-up broadband as well, which is quite funny. And then, I think it was about 14, 15 maybe that I actually came out to other people. My dad didn't take it very well, but he's come around to the idea. It was a tough time because, I grew up in the shadows of Section 28, right? So Section 28 was happening. Nobody was talking about, homosexuality. The only things that we saw were then the first kiss on EastEnders, I think it was. And then, there was something on Hollyoaks when I was growing up, and it was kind of like, and everyone the next day were talking about it like it was some kind of disgusting thing that had happened. And I'm sitting there in the corner thinking, oh my gosh, that's what I want. That's how I want to live. So that was quite difficult. But my family were fairly supportive. My dad kind of just kept his distance because he didn't understand it. My kind of second eldest sister became the favourite. She was like the tomboy. She liked the wrestling, she liked the football, so she would go to the football and do all that kind of stuff with him, as opposed to me. But I think a lot of parents grow out of that, not hatred, but that uneducated view over time. So I would say that anybody out there that is struggling with coming out, and potentially they've come out and their parents haven't taken it well, give them time, because it is a big thing for them. As long as it as much as it is a big thing for you, it is a big thing for them as well. And give them pieces of information, point them in the direction of charities like Flag.
So just going back to your mum discovering some hanky-panky that you've been downloading online, did she say anything to you then? So she knew it was you and you knew that she knew. What words were exchanged? It
was very, very awkward. My dad got home and he was doing something on the computer and he was like, what is this? Stephen, what have you downloaded? And I was like, I haven't, it wasn't me. And he was like, yes, it was. What have you done? You're disgusting. And my mum was like, no, actually, it was me. So she just kind of covered it, and she covered it well for quite some time, actually. And then I learnt my lesson. Make sure you put in private browser on.
But did she say anything to you? Did she say, look,
no, it was kind of just
like sexuality?
It was really bizarre. She kind of just gave me the wink, and that was it. We kind of just got on with things. I think it was because she just didn't want to talk about it. Maybe it was an awkward thing for her. My parents were quite young. My mum was 13, 14 when she had me. My dad was 1 year older. So when I, was in my teens, they really were still quite young.
Yeah.
And my grandparents, were quite young. So it's quite nice to have a young family because they were a lot more accepting. I think just from my dad's point of view, I think it was just that non-education. It was that, what are they getting up to kind of thing. And he didn't know any gay people, or at least if he did, he didn't kind of mention them.
And were you expressing yourself at school? Was there any element of bullying, or were you just sort of getting on with it?
Oh gosh, I was bullied more for my hair than my sexuality, to be honest with you. There was one teacher that I kind of came out to that was really supportive. He was as flamboyant and gay as ever, which was really nice. So it was good to be able to go and speak to somebody about it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really bullied. It was more kind of the odd jibe here and there, like, go and do this to such and such who they knew was really gay. And, there was always one person that had like extroverted hair or done something different to their blazer or something. So at school, we had a couple of people that were very out. So of course, when people made comments, it was normally like to me about, go and get in the closet with X, or as opposed to anything else. But it wasn't really bullying. It was more kind of that light teasing.
But then, so I suppose at some point you did sit down and have a conversation with your dad then?
Over the years, we had conversations about me. I think, it became easier. My dad moved in with me for a period of time during his divorce. And during that period of time, we became quite close. And I think he realised that it wasn't just people coming and going. It was actually me looking for love, looking for somebody to spend my life with. But I think his idea was because of what, you know, you saw in the public eye and you saw out there, you know, the AIDS pandemic and, you know, HIV and all the rest of it. It was coming across to him during my period of growing up, during the 80s and early 90s. It was coming across to him like everybody was out there clubbing, pubbing, getting, you know, absolutely wrecked and sleeping with one another. But actually, that isn't the lifestyle that I wanted to live. The lifestyle that I wanted to live was, yes, I'm going to go out to heaven once, you know, every other week, you know, and sleep on the park bench at the train station till 5 a.m. and then get the first train back. Yes, I wanted to do that. Of course I did. But it wasn't like, I'm going out every week. I'm going out and bringing all these guys back.
Well, you want the same things that everyone else wants, which is to be loved,
love and
to
happiness.
Be
exactly, exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. And you found your love then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so I found my first partner. I'll say this very, very lightly, and obviously I'll cover this very quickly. I found my partner, and we were together for 6 years. And then about a year ago, we both met somebody else and are in a polyamorous relationship. And a polyamorous relationship is or can be one or two things. It can be a closed polyamorous relationship where it's just the people that are in the relationship have that relationship and that's it. Or it could be an open poly relationship, which is you have a relationship, but you have a relationship with other people as well. Ours is a closed poly relationship. It's us three. We're very happy and we love each other, you know, equally. We get on really well. We feel like best friends, you know. We're at home, we'll take it in turns cooking, we'll clean and whatever. And that is how it feels for us. It felt natural. So for us, it works. We're, like I said, in a closed relationship, so we're not going and harming anybody else or bringing anybody else in. It's us three against the world. And, you know, it feels really lovely for us.
And if there's just three of you then, is that not a throuple?
It's a throuple, yeah.
It's a throuple. It is a throuple. Yeah. Okay. And does it never get complicated? Do you never get jealous of you know, if them two are getting down to it and you're excluded or? No.
I mean, you know, at first it was a bit kind of like, oh, how are we going to do this? What's going to happen? But like now they're out and about and I'm at home, and you know, tomorrow I'll be out and about with, you know, one of them and somebody else will be busy at work or whatever. It's love, isn't it? It's, you know, if you're happy and you're content and it's not doing anybody else harm, why not? And that's how we see it. And of course, it's about happiness. But if ever you're confused, one thing I would say relationship-wise is just talk. The reason why our relationship works is because we've been so open and transparent and honest with each other. And as long as you are open and transparent with each other, no one is going to get hurt. And that is the thing. You know, there are so many people out there that are, you know, cheating on one another and whatever. And that, you know, that is harmful. But if you're open and honest and you're talking about your relationship and you're keeping it clear, then, you know, why not if you're all happy and content with it? Of course, if my original partner said, look, this isn't for me, or if I had said this isn't for me, then we wouldn't have gone with it, or we would have talked about it. But of course it just worked.
And have you had to come out to both of them then as being intersex? How did they react?
Oh, my original partner that I was with, it was kind of like, you know, I've got cancer. Oh, and by the way, I'm you know, I'm intersex. It was kind of like that, you know, and it didn't faze anybody. It's not fazed anybody. We kind of just get on with it because it's not changed me. I've not changed. No. So, you know, it's just like if there's a teenager and they kind of go, I'm gay, they're not going to change. It's still the same person, still love them, still hold them, still respect them, still cherish them. They're not going to change. So I'm not going to change.
And given those two things going on, there's a lot more to talk about with the big dreaded bloody C word, isn't there? And there's a lot of treatments for you to go through, and you know, a lot of discussions.
Well, I've got through all of that. I had my final operation. I've got the all clear from anything inside me. I've had all the bloods and everything to say that's fine. So, you know, for me, I'm happy. I'm content. I'm in a relationship, and now I can live my life and hopefully use my experiences to better other people's lives as well. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to help others that are out there. So do reach out if you ever want to chat about intersex or, you know, polyamorous relationships or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've had to come out quite a lot then. So you've come out as being gay, then you've come out as being intersex, and now you're kind of coming out as being in a polyamorous relationship as well, which, you know, you've talked about a bit, but it does have a bit of stigma to it, doesn't it? Have you ever had any flack or problems because of that, coming out as being polyamorous?
Yes. people don't necessarily understand it. People think that you should be monogamous between two people. But the way I look at it is, we're not doing anybody harm. We are all in love. We are all communicating with each other and happy with each other. So if you don't like it, lump it.
Yeah, you don't have to get involved, do you? Exactly,
yeah. And it's not going to be a quadruple or anything like that.
No.
So we're okay. We're fine, thank you.
Four's a crowd. No, we're not having that.
The bed's big enough for three of us, not for anybody else. It's okay.
Oh, is it? You're all in one bed then, yeah?
Oh, of course, yeah. It's got to be the way.
I feel like I'm asking loads of really intrusive questions now.
It's not like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, we've got a super, super king size or whatever it is. It's like a sleigh. I won't take you to the bedroom, but because I'm. But it's a very big bed, So yeah, we all fit.
Oh, fantastic! So you touched on this slightly earlier, but if you would have any advice to anyone else who's maybe just discovered that they were intersex or didn't really understand it, what advice would you have to others?
So anybody that's intersex or just doesn't necessarily understand it, go and search online. There are a number of charities and organisations that you can reach out to. Switchboard are really good, and they actually have individuals there that can talk to you about intersex. And likewise, if you're a friend, relative, colleague of somebody, or you're just want to be an ally and you want to find out how you can be more of an ally, the Family of Lesbians and Gays charity, FLAGG, is really, really good. And I would say go and check them out, because they would be able to put you in touch with local charities and signpost. Alternatively, reach out to your local Pride organisations. They have those contacts there already. So wherever you are, go and check out your local Pride, because it's likely that they'll have a link on their website or something to signpost you to somewhere that can help you.
Yes, well, spoken like a true Pride organiser there. I don't even mention the fact that you are one of the main organisers of Pride in Surrey. So just want to say congratulations again for an amazing event earlier this summer. And thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. It was really, really good.
Thank you for inviting me and bringing me back to my hometown from a long, long time ago of Godalming. It was just one of the best days of 2021, I have to say.
It was definitely needed, coming out of COVID, and we're still not out of it fully, but coming out of that period where we had to lock down and not have any events, to have an event, bring people together and be able to showcase some of the great talent that we've got in Surrey, and showcase some of the charities and the places that are available to people, and also a beautiful town. It is such a picturesque, lovely town. The church, the cobbled streets going around, and, really great, some local shops and things. Shout out to Godalming, because they were fantastic, a truly inclusive bunch that run the local council, and it was such a pleasure to work with them.
Oh, it's so good to hear. Having spent my teenage misspent youth drinking cans of Carlsberg Special Brew in that exact location, it feels very fitting to suddenly, 35 years later, be saying big up to Godalming and the parish council. But thank you, Stephen. Thank you for organising Pride in Surrey, and thank you for being probably the UK's best poster boy for being intersex now, I should say.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a great accolade. You never know, there might be an award for that somewhere.
And if not, I'm going to make you one.
Thanks.
What a story. Thank you so much, Stephen, for talking to me. And if you've got any questions or you do want to make contact with Stephen, he is genuine about his offer. And you can follow him on Twitter via @StephenA.Ireland. Next episode, you'll meet Stevie. They're a musician and a podcaster living near to New York. They identify as non-binary or genderqueer, but first came out as gay as a teenager.
I genuinely thought my mother would completely disown me and kick me out. And when I did come out to her, and for me, the sort of coming out process was complete when I told my mother, because everyone else knew except her. And, we don't have a good relationship now. I mean, you can imagine if she didn't have a good relationship when I came out as gay, coming out to her as non-binary didn't go well either. But when I came out to her as gay, her response was, "Is this because you can't get a boyfriend?" So yeah, that's money.